Primanti Brothers French fry stuffed sandwiches are an absolute staple of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and today I'm going to show you how to make these delicious sandwiches from the comfort of your own home. So whether you're gearing up for another football Sunday or you're just craving a taste of Pittsburgh, this is the damn near official recipe for a Primanti Brothers sandwich. So why do I have two different types of sandwiches here? Well, when you go to Primanti's, you get a choice. So I went with what I typically get, which is the Pittsburger, and what I took as the most popular, the Pastrami. Alright, let's get to this Pastrami. This process is going to be super simple, guys. All we're going to do is take about a tablespoon of oil. I added too much, but what are you going to do? So let's get that oil in the pan, heat it up over medium heat. And once it's nice and hot, we're going to get our Pastrami in there. And we're just simply going to let this get hot, guys. We're going to flip it over halfway through. And once it's completely done, we're going to get some provolone cheese over the top of that. Provolone only. Gotta be provolone for authentic Primanti's. I definitely prefer to layer the cheese, but if you just want to put it in one spot, that's cool too. As soon as that cheese is melted, stack that meat up and we're ready to roll. Yet another super simple process with this burger here, guys. You're just going to cook this exactly like you would cook any normal burger. But for those that aren't quite sure how to do that, let me walk you through it. So we're going to take some 80-20 ground beef and form it into that circular shape. One thing I want you to keep note of is that this burger is going to shrink during the cooking process. So because of that, you want to make it a little bigger than you normally would. We're going to make sure we season the bottom side before we get it in the pan, and then once it's in the pan, season the top side. I'm going with a simple seasoning of seasoned salt, garlic powder, and onion powder for this one. Now, is it a crime to flip this more than once? No, but you shouldn't have to. We're going to give it that flip when we see those outside edges getting nice and brown. Check out that beautiful crust on the outside. That's what's going to ensure that the juices from the burger stay inside the burger. Once the other side of that burger matches this color, we're done. Of course, that last finishing touch is going to be to add a couple of slices of provolone, get that nice and melted with some water and a lid. We're good to go. So, we got our pastrami on, and we got our burger on. Our next ingredient is perhaps the star ingredient. It's the ingredient that makes a Primanti sandwich a Primanti's sandwich. Ladies and gentlemen, I am referring to none other than the famous homemade French fry. At Primanti's, you're going to get fresh cut fries on every one of your sandwiches, so why would we do anything different? So Primanti's fries are a little on the thicker side. I think Five Guys. Very comparable French fry experience, I would say. All right, now let's see what we can do here. We're going to try to get these as uniform as possible. For me, that's going to be about as uniform as I'm going to get. Next thing I'm going to want to do, get these potatoes into this water that's going to remove the starch, and I'm going to let them sit as long as I need to. For this specific instance, I'm just going to let them sit for a few minutes while my oil is heating up. All right, achieving perfect French fries is a lot simpler than it seems, guys. I've got my deep fryer set to 350 degrees. The technique that we're going to use here is called a double fry, and it is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to fry these things twice. So why are we going to do that, and what does this achieve? Well, the first fry is going to cook the potato almost all the way through, or it's at least going to start the cooking process all the way through the potato. If we leave it in there, we're going to burn the outside of our fry before we achieve a perfect doneness on the inside. As soon as you see any hint of the browning process beginning on these potatoes, we're going to take them out, put them on a cooling rack, and let them cool as long as you can, or I guess as long as you have patience for. I typically like to let mine sit for at least a half an hour at room temperature. This should completely cool the outside of the fry, so when we get it back in that oil, it's going to be able to just bathe in there and get that nice, perfect golden brown color rather than burning. So I'm going to hit them with a little bit of seasoning salt. One specific brand who shall remain unnamed until they ask me for my direct deposit info. After I got that seasoned salt on there, toss that around. If you've ever seen a video of a Primanti sandwich being made, this is not what you're gonna get. Kind of delicate. Let's make sure they're placed correctly. No, this is what you get right here. You get a handful, you get that, and you get that. Boom. And one more time over here for the fresh cut fries. All right, up next, Primanti's Coleslaw. All right, guys, yet another simple process here. We're just going to take all of those ingredients that you see on the screen in front of you, throw them in a bowl, and mix them up. One key point here is that you need to make your coleslaw first. That should be the first thing you do. There's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, the longer that you're able to let this sit in the fridge and allow those flavors to marry, the more delicious this is going to become. And two, you saw how much sugar we put in there. The longer you let it sit, the less grainy texture you're going to get from that sugar. Alternatively, you can boil the vinegar and oil and then dump the sugar in to make it dissolve faster, but that just means you got to make it even earlier, allow it to cool in the fridge even longer. I prefer skipping this step because the difference in the end product is virtually unnoticeable. And yes, I'm aware that I'm a certified psychopath for mixing this with my hand. The reason I do this is I just really want to make sure that I get all of that sugar coated in liquid. And there's just no easier way to accomplish that than feeling it out. Primanti's is the only place I've ever had a slaw like this. To me, a typical coleslaw is going to be mayo-based, creamy, and if I had to choose one to eat on its own, it's definitely going to be the mayo-based creamy coleslaw. But there's just something about this tangy, sweet, vinegar-based coleslaw that pairs perfectly with a Primanti sandwich. Because it's so unique, you can about imagine that it's super polarizing. Either you love it or you hate it. At this point, we're going to top this thing off with a few tomatoes, get that bread on top, and we are ready to eat.
Now, when you get these Primanti sandwiches, this is essentially how they look. Really tall, looks like an impossible mountain to climb, but we're going to climb it today, people. Now, I am nowhere near Pittsburgh, but I have a feeling this is going to make me feel right where I belong. One final cut. Try to be gentle with that knife. Try to let the knife do the work. It's important to have a nice sharp knife, so you gotta press down, ruin your food. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is our second reveal. I'm way too excited to even grab a plate. I am absolutely ready for this. I haven't been to Pittsburgh in about a year, which means it's been about a year since I've had a Primanti sandwich. That's 1 year too long. Loaded with pastrami, loaded with French fries. Let's go. Holy shit. If you follow this recipe that I just gave you, it is so simple. This is your perfect taste of Pittsburgh, and I haven't even tried my favorite one. This Pittsburger missing one key ingredient, if you ask me. Maybe people will disagree, but if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I bet you won't. This thing needs some ketchup, but not just any ketchup. It's gotta be Heinz ketchup. How about the toss by the wifey there? How about that? Right there. Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be the ultimate test. Let's go. I am in Pittsburgh heaven. Just knocking out some Primantis in my own kitchen. Come on. All right, people. I might get sued by Primanti Brothers. I don't know. I might get sued by the whole city of Pittsburgh for saying that this is official. So I'm not going to say it's official. But what I will say is that this is the damn near official recipe for a Pittsburgh Steelers Primanti's sandwich. 3, 2, 1, bite. All right, we got one more taste tester here. I see a stray fry. Looks like those fries are dog approved. Pittsburgh fans, from our household to yours, here we go.